All right, hello again. Last video that I've got for you guys about data displays today, and this one is the trickiest. This data display is called a Box-and-Whisker Plot. All right, so this one's not as easy as the other ones. There's just a few like extra things that you've got to do. So what I'm going to do first, like I've told you for all of the other data displays for the most part, is if I've got a list of data, I need to put them in order from least to greatest. So that's my first job. So right now I'm going to go through, I'm going to cross off my numbers, and I'm going to put them in order from least to greatest. Again, like I've told you before, this is generally the first thing that you will do with any of your data. It's the most important thing. It helps you to organize everything and get yourself ready. So put those numbers in order, cross them off so you make sure you don't miss any. All right, so good start. All my numbers are in order from smallest to biggest. Okay, now for a box and whisker plot, there's a few different things that I need to find. So first thing I need to find is the smallest number. Okay, so now that my numbers are in order from least to greatest, I already see where my smallest number is. So my smallest number is the number 14. Same thing, I also need to look for the largest number. And again, since my numbers are in order from smallest to biggest, my largest number is 38. Okay, so those were pretty easy. I'm also going to find the median. We talked about the median before. Median means the middle number. Now this one, I've told you guys, a lot of people had trouble with this when you guys did your practice last week. Not so much on your project, but there's always a middle number, even if it falls in between two other numbers. So I'm going to show you what that might look like. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to do my little ticks. So like one on each side, those two are gone, one on each side, one on each side. So now I have 3 and 3 that have gone away, 4 and 4, 5 and 5. Now I can't cross all the numbers off. So once I get to this point, I have 2 numbers left, and I'm saying that my middle is right in between those. Okay, now this is a great example. My middle is between the number 30 and 30. Is there a number between 30 and 30? No. So that means if my number when I get to the middle is exactly the same on both sides, that means my middle number is the number 30. And that's fine. Okay, now I found smallest, largest, and the middle. Great. Now I drew a line right here in the middle because that's important, because now there are 2 new things that you haven't seen before, you haven't heard before, that we have to find. So the first thing I need to find is called the first quartile. The quartile word is a new one. Okay, first quartile means middle of lower half. So I want to find the middle number from this lower half of my data. Then we're also going to find something called the third quartile. Sometimes they have some slightly different names, but these are the ones you'll most likely see all the time. The third quartile means the middle of the upper half. Okay, so again, I'm looking here to find what is the middle number of just the lower half of my numbers, and then I'll figure out what the middle number is of the upper half. So kind of doing the same thing where I did my little check mark things. So I'm actually going to cross them off. So I've got 1 on each side there, 1 on each side. Okay, now I can't cross off both of these middle numbers, which means my middle number is actually right in between the number 20 and 26. So there's a couple different things I could do. I could get out a number line to find out what number is actually in between the number 20 and 26. Or, I told you before, we can take those two numbers that we're left with, so 20 and 26, I can actually add them together. And when I add them together, I would get 46. And then I can take that number and divide it by 2, because there was two numbers. And I want to find that middle. Dividing by 2 will get me that middle number. So 46 divided by 2 is 23. So that means if I did look at a number line, 23 is right there in the middle. All right, then I want to do the same thing with the upper half. So I'm going to cross off one number from each side. Again, I am right here in between the number 33 and 35. Now, I hope you can kind of figure out, if you were thinking of a number line, in between 33 and 35 would be the number 34. So that means that 34 would be the middle between those two numbers for the upper half. Okay, so I've got all these numbers. I have the median, the smallest, the largest, the first quartile, and the third quartile. Now, all of those numbers that I just found are going to help me to create this box and whisker plot. All right, so what's going to happen is I am going to make a number line, kind of like the dot plot. All right, my number line has to include all of these numbers that I've circled that I found. It doesn't matter what you count by. I just have to make sure I go from 14 to 38. So maybe I want to count by 2s. Seems like that could be a good way to get there. It's up to you. So I'm going to count by 2s across the bottom. All right. So I did counting by 2s. I needed to make sure I had my lowest and my highest number. All right. So here's what's going to happen first. First, I'm going to start by putting my lowest and my highest number on my box and whisker plot. How I do that is I am going to draw a dot at where both of those numbers fall. Not like the dot plot where I put it like right just above the 14 or any number. I'm going to put it up a little ways, and then I'm going to kind of put the dot for the other value around the same height. Okay, so I've got a dot for my smallest and my largest. Okay, now what I'm going to do for the middle, the median, I'm actually going to draw a line at the number 30. I'm going to draw my line kind of hovering. All right, so there it is. It's above the 30. I'm also going to draw a line where I see these other two numbers for the first quartile and the third quartile. So 23 isn't on here necessarily, but it's in between 22 and 24. And then 34 I've got. Okay, so these three numbers, these make my box. So I have these three. It's not going to really be a box per se. It's going to be a rectangle. So I had those three lines that I drew, and I'm going to connect them to make a rectangular shaped box. Okay. Then the smallest and largest, those kind of make my whiskers. So from the edge of my box, I'm going to draw a line that goes out to the dots that I made for my smallest and largest. And that makes a box and whisker plot. So I'm just going to label on our box and whisker plot what these different things were for. So the dot on the far end was the smallest number. The dot on the other end was for the largest number. The line in the middle of the box was the median. The line at the beginning of the box, I'm going to put first Q for first quartile, and then third Q on the other end for third quartile. Okay, you never have to label your box and whisker plot like this. I'm just labeling this one for you guys so that you've got an idea of what you need to do. All right, so again, there's 2 of these today. This is the trickiest display to create. So as you're working today, you've got the video notes. I also uploaded a set of notes that the other math teacher made that we sent home in the home packets. And if you can use both of those and understand it pretty well, awesome. If you've got questions, just email me. And then today, I'm going to have the work be due by tomorrow, just because making displays, it's a little bit trickier, and there's not really an easy way to practice that with a Kaboom or a Kahoot. I would love for you guys to take a picture of your work if you can, and either email it to me or upload it into the Google Classroom when you submit your work for today. But email me with any questions you've got. I'll be available all day. All right, looking forward to seeing your work, guys.